Hey guys, it's Franklin here. Just figured I'd start a channel here. Basically, my background is I'm a web developer for a large corporate company and been in the industry for about 4.5 years, mostly working in node.js and Vue.js, building web applications. And I'm just starting this channel to share what I've learned. It'll be a mix of programming and career development and anything else that you'd like to see along the way. So basically, I have created a Discord bot, and in quarantine, I wanted to learn a little bit more about Node, and instead of building an API a lot, so I built this simple bot, and it's written in node.js, and you can do the help command, and you can ask it questions of, can I have a beer? It'll give you a qualified answer. And my favorite one is the drink with, and you give it an ingredient and it will go ahead and fetch a random drink with that ingredient. So if I say mint, it'll go ahead and tell you we have 4 possible mint recipes and yours is frozen mint daiquiri. We can also do roll, which is just a random number generator, and then some server info, which gives you the name and the environment and how many members are on there. So jumping into the code, I'm going to show you, I use cmander. It's a great command line interface, and some basic commands are ls, which will list everything out. If you do cd space and 2 dots, it'll go back a directory, so change directory. And I'm going to go back to, or go to my desktop, so users Frank, and then desktop. If you type in like part of the word and hit tab, it'll auto-complete it to desktop. And then clear is clear, or CLS will also work. And then I will do development projects, and then within that, if you hit tab, it'll list out all of the directories. So I'm going to go to the Discord Frank bot, and I use Code, VS Code, at work and out of work. It's my code editor of choice, but you can use whatever you like. I open it by typing code space and then period, hitting enter, and then it should launch the directory right there for you. So first thing I do is I look at the README, and if there is no README, you should make a README. If new developers are jumping on the projects, you need to know what's going on and what's what. README is the best place to start. So basically a high-level overview of what it is. You know, custom Discord bot I built for my friends, some commands, development notes. This is a link to my GitHub, and then how to get started. npm install is usually the first step, and then to run in dev, npm run dev and dev. Next thing I'll look at is the package JSON and kind of see the scripts commands. So this will start the index. So I'll go to the root and then kind of step through there. Since I used Node, it uses JavaScript, this discord.js library, and there's a great resource and guide that you can use. If you just search it, it'll have a lot of documentation and guide that'll help through. I just followed the guide. I used Google and worked my way through. So this is basically requiring a bunch of files, setting the prefix to the exclamation mark, and then these are requiring external directories. So I put all the methods or functions or calls you can do into a separate folder to clean it up a bit. This says once, and if it does not start with that exclamation mark, it'll automatically cut out and it won't have to run all of this code, so saving some resources. This basically is from the guide. It makes the command lowercase and removes all white space, so you have a sanitized input command. So then if it matches help, it will go ahead and call the help function, and then this is importing the message embed API, setting the color, the title, the fields, and then all the values. The next one is server, and that is basically going to call the server info, command, and then looping through and getting all of the members that are online. It'll tell you how many is online out of the entire size, and then it'll also tell you the environment hooking into the node process environment, and then the uptime. So I have this hosted. I'll do another video on that. Another one is the roll command, and this will go ahead and call the roll dice, which you see here, and it's basically a game die emoji and then a random number generation from just found it online. And then probably my favorite one is the get random drink method, and then it is taking both the message and an argument. So the recipe you saw, mint, will be passed in, and then it will go ahead to get to random drink. If there is no argument length, like if they forget something, it'll just say you didn't provide any ingredients. It'll yell at the author, try again, and it'll offer some input on the suggested format or the preferred format. If it does pass this, we go ahead and say, great, okay, so-and-so, we're thinking of a drink made with whatever ingredient you passed in. It'll go to this fetch. It'll fetch this API, and I'm using this fetch module, which is node.js, and you can look up some docs on how to use that. It's fairly easily to be done, and it's the preferred way that Node does it on the server. So we'll go ahead, and I found a API that I liked, and it was the Cocktail DB. So it's a free API, and you can donate to them as well if you're using it in production, which I recommend you do. And then it'll have a bunch of these endpoints. These are basically links. An endpoint is a fancy word for a link. You can search by ingredient, and then it'll bring back a bunch of stuff with that ingredient. So I'm using this endpoint, filtering by ingredient, and then vodka. You can do mint, whatever. And this is JSON. So normally you would see it, if you don't have the extension that I do, kind of like this, but I have a formatter called Json View, which really helps out with the readability. And then you'll see it just returns an array of drinks. You'll have the drink name, the thumbnail, and the drink ID. So I'll go ahead and walk you through here. So we got this, we're passing in our drink. It then gets the response in JSON. Do some error handling here, and if there's any errors, will give us sorry, we don't have any drinks, try another one. That was happening because it was getting a good response, but for some reason there were no ingredients left, so I had to add some error handling there. Next off, it'll go to get drinks, and I like to kind of have a function do one thing. So this will be get random drink, and then this function will be to get the drinks. It could probably be named a little better of get drink recipe or something like that. But anyhow, it does a simple error handling check. If there are drinks and they have a length, we're going to pick a random number of that entire drink's length. So right here we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll pick a random number 1 through 4. And then that will be the drink that we selected. We'll bring in the embed function again to embed that image, and then we'll basically print out we have so many drinks. In this case it's 4. In this vodka case it's 70 something, but it'll print that out, and it will randomly select whatever drink that was selected here. It'll print out the thumbnail as you see here, and then it'll also print out the ingredients and the instructions on how to make it. So we got the drink first, and that's one API. To get the ingredients is a separate API, and that is using this lookup one. So it needs to pass in a ID. So we got the drink, great, and we grab the ID from the first lookup and push it in to the second lookup. And this is where we actually get the instructions and also the ingredients to go along with it. So we'll do 2 lookups to make this work correctly. We'll do ahead and go the fetch API again, and then if there's a response, great, and we're going to render the ingredients. Should probably put a little more error handling in here, like this catch clause, but for now we haven't run into any issues. Then we'll go to the render ingredients function, and it's going to go for each drink. So for each one, for each of these, we're going to loop through all of this information here, and it's basically a ingredients drink entries and create a ingredients array. Now, the tricky thing I was working with was trying to get the ingredients, and they were not usually you'd get an array of ingredients and you'd have everything listed out. But in this instance, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so on and so forth. Some recipes would have 2 ingredients, others would have, like in this, 5. And it was hard to tell how long it would go without looping through. So I did some searching online, and Stack Overflow is great. I mean, in web development, there are lots of problems that have already been solved. So there's really no is iterating through this API. They were having the same issue I was of having trouble going through these ingredients. And it's always good to check like what actually their problem is before you read the most upvoted solution. And we have a great response here. Simply filter those empty values. And then since I was using JavaScript, I just went ahead and chose the less redundant form. So basically it goes ahead and filters them all out. So if it starts with this and there's a value and we grab all the white space, we'll dump it into its own array and make an ingredients array and a measures array, and then print both of them out to the screen here. So that's pretty much it for my Discord bot. Next up, I'll put the repo link there, and any questions down below, I'd be happy to answer for you. Have a great night.